SCP on Splat or Secure Copy on Splat. In this nugget, we're going to look at one of the best and most secure ways to transfer files to and from our secure platform machines. The first point we're going to look at is why use Secure Copy, where we will talk about some of the benefits of using the Secure Copy process as opposed to using a over-the-wire FTP option for transferring files to and from our Checkpoint Secure Platform devices. Then we will look at some of the ports that are going to be used in a Secure Copy config. And then we will look at the actual configuration of Secure Copy on our secure platform boxes. We'll get everything set up, configured properly to give you the skills to do it in your own lab, and then we'll continue on from there and use this wonderful product in our daily use of Checkpoint products. So let's continue on from here, take some great notes, and let's look at SCP on Splat. Alright guys, so let's discuss setting up Secure Copy for our Checkpoint Secure Platform devices. Now the reason why we're going to use Secure Copy is primarily to be able to securely transfer files to and from our Checkpoint Splat devices. Now Secure Copy is going to be much more secure than using FTP because it's actually going to provide encryption and authentication because it's going to tunnel all of our file transfers over the SSH port 22. So definitely going to make it much more secure when transferring files to and from our devices. And it's definitely a best practice when working with any Linux or Unix or BSD based operating system when transferring files to and from. So the first thing that we have to do in order to get this set up is we need to connect over to our Nugget management server. So on our Nugget management server, let's go ahead and log into it. So once we log into it, we need to basically we're going to set up a file. So let's go ahead and get into expert mode. Okay, we're in expert mode now. Okay, so we already know that we have our admin account on this particular machine, but we want this admin account to be able to use the secure copy options whenever we need to transfer files to or from this particular box. So what we need to do at this point is to set up an SCP users directory, and this is actually set up in the etc directory. So what we have to do at this point is go ahead and do vi /etc /scp users. Okay, so once we get into this particular directory, what we want to do is to essentially set this up to be able to properly authenticate people when they want to actually SCP files to our box. Now there's one thing I'd like to look at, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and get out of this particular file. I would like to just go ahead and start at the root directory, clear off of this particular directory, and do a cd to /etc. So under /etc, let's do an ls and see what we see here. Okay, so let's make sure I don't have any actual SCP user files here, and we don't. So let's go ahead and clear out of here, and then we're going to do vi scp users. Alright? Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and insert a username here. Admin is going to be the user who can actually SCP files to the Nugget management server. So we're going to go ahead and write this config to this particular file. Alright, so now we should be able to do a more on SCP users, and we see admin in there. Alright, so we should be in good shape there. Now, the next thing that we're going to want to do whenever we are actually testing this, we need to actually test the actual function and the ways that we're going to actually SCP files to and from our machine. So what we're going to do at this point is I'm going to pull up an actual format that shows us exactly how we have to format our command structure in order to SCP files back and forth. Alright guys, this is the basic format that we must use whenever we want to SCP a file to a location. Let's say for example, we want to SCP a certain file name as admin over to 10.20.1.20 and place it in this particular directory. So this is the format you must have. You want to do SCP, space, and then the file name, the space, and then the login at the box that you're logging into, colon, and then the directory on that particular box of where do you want to put the file is essentially what you're looking for there. So what we're going to do as part of this test is we're going to actually set up a CP backup, and we're going to move that CP backup from our Nugget Firewall B back over to our actual Nugget management server. So one thing we're going to have to do in order to get this to flow properly is we need to jump into Smart Dashboard, and we're going to need to put another rule in on our firewall management rule. So let's go ahead and log in, and this will just take a minute for Smart Dashboard to pop up for us. And we should just about be loaded. It's loading the objects, loading setup, and we should be good now. Okay, so under the firewall management rule right here, we have just a basic firewall management that says our trainer machine, which is on our public side, our Nugget management backup, and our Nugget PCB, which is what I'm working with now, is allowed to talk to these particular hosts over these protocols. So SSH is definitely what we're going to be using for our secure copy. So what we're going to do in order to get this to work is we're going to go ahead and add our Nugget Firewall B in as a potential source of traffic whenever we want to SCP our files. So Nugget Firewall B coming toward the Nugget management server over 22 should be accepted. So let's go ahead and do a policy install, and we'll push this out to our Nugget cluster. And once we get this policy deployed to our Nugget cluster, we're going to jump on the command line of our Nugget Firewall B, and once we connect to Nugget Firewall B, we'll set up an actual backup and work on actually SCPing that information back over to our Nugget management server. So this will just take a moment for it to install for us after it verifies our policy, and we should be good to go to complete that test. Alright, we got our policy installed successfully. Let's go ahead and close off of here, minimize our Smart Dashboard at this point, and then what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and leave that up where we can see our file structure that we want to work with, and we're going to go ahead and open up a connection over to Nugget Firewall B. Okay, and let this load up. We should get a login prompt here in a moment. And let's give it a moment to see if it loads up for us. And one thing to check, of all things, just to make sure that particular host is answering on the network, let's try to ping it. Okay, so it looks like that it's not booting up for us. And we may need to check, make sure this box is on the network at this point. So if we try to ping it, it's not responding. So let's just pause for a moment. Let me make sure that guy's started up, and we'll continue on from here. Alright guys, so that box is up now. My apologies there. Forgot to boot that one up. Alright, so let's make sure we can ping it still. Okay, so we're able to ping our Nugget Firewall B on its external interface. So let's go ahead and get out of this particular DOS window, and go ahead and restart this particular session. There we go. Got a prompt to log in. Alright, so we're on Nugget Firewall B at this point. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a change directory to /var. And then in the var directory, just do a cd to cp backup. Cd to the actual backups directory. And I think we may have a file under here already. Okay, so we do have the one of this particular box that we created using the backup command. And once that's been created, we can test out our SCP option over to our Nugget management server. So we have the particular connection in place, let's go ahead and open up Smart View Tracker, and let's take a look at this. That way we can actually map out exactly what we see here. So let's close this, maximize this, and as we go to the bottom here, we see that our actual connection right here was from our Nugget PCB to this box over our actual VPN that we set up earlier in this particular series. So that's pretty cool. We have our Nugget mesh running, and everything flowing between our two sites is going across our VPN. So that's working very well for us. Alright, so what we're going to see here is now that we have our logs running, we can basically set it up to do a auto scroll of the logs right here, and we're going to minimize this for now. And what we're going to do is essentially just we're going to SCP this particular backup file over to our Nugget management server. So let's take a look at that now. So from here, we're going to issue our SCP command, and it's a SCP space, and you need to do the file name. Now, using your command completion is going to work pretty well for you. So we see that we're going to SCP the backup file, and it's going to ask us basically where are we going to log in with. So now we need to issue our login account, and that's going to be admin at 10.20.1.20, and then we need to do a colon, and we're going to basically put where we're going to put this file. So let's go ahead and drop it directly into var, and we'll hit enter. And it asks us what is our password. Okay, so as we see right here, we're starting to drop the Nugget backup file over, and it gives us a stat as it's running right here on everything that's being placed over. So we get a nice run, and it tells us that 100% of it was copied. So that's good information for sure. So if we jump back over to the Nugget management server here, and let's clear off of this for now, and let's jump into our expert shell. Okay. Now, let's clear everything as we did. CD to our actual var directory. And inside our var directory, if we do an ls, there is our CP backup file. So, as we can see there, that's a very secure and a very nice way to transfer files to and from our checkpoint devices. As stated, it's a best network security practice when working on anything that's Unix or Linux or BSD based for the command line. So it's something that you definitely want to be familiar with, and you want to use it from time to time as much as possible, especially in our situation where we are actually transferring files to and from our box, but we have a little bit better security here, and than some people. If we were to be remotely managing our Nugget Firewall C, for example, which we don't have a VPN to formed right now, then we could potentially have an issue with trying to get things across the internet in a secure fashion. And it's the reason why we wouldn't use FTP. Because basically what we saw at this point is our actual connection from our Nugget management server, or from our Nugget Firewall B back to our Nugget management server, was encrypted and sent over our VPN tunnel. So basically we have double the security. We're using SCP and we're sending it over our VPN tunnel between the two sites. We're in great shape. That's not going to be hackable at all. So as we can see, we use an encryption method where we're using an AES 256 SHA-1 as well. That's going to give us the most amount of security as well. So we have all this sent across. It was sent across our VPN tunnel between our Nugget Firewall B through our Nugget cluster to our Nugget management server. So that's going to work really well for us. We have our backup file on our Nugget management server, so we're in great shape. So at that point, that pretty much will take care of the whole aspect of using SCP to transfer files to and from our particular boxes on the network. And like I said, just make sure you're using it, set it up, get familiar with it, and it's going to be a nice tool for basically managing all your files in your environment. In this nugget on SCP on Splat, we discuss using the secure copy system in order to copy files to and from our secure platform devices. And we also talked about why use secure copy. Secure copy is going to be a much more secure and a much more recommended way of copying files to and from our systems, because it uses SCP is going to use the SSH port of 22 to tunnel our transfers to and from our boxes, as opposed to using FTP port 21, which is not going to be secure for over the wire transfers across the internet unless you're using a secure FTP option. But if it's straight port 21, SCP is always going to be a best practice for you. Then we looked at the actual ports in the SCP config, where basically we're talking about using port 22, where we saw our actual SSH connection come across our SmartView tracker whenever we checked it out for verification. And we ran through an actual config of setting up SCP on our secure platform box, where we basically went in and created an SCP users file inside of the etc directory on our Nugget management server, and it's something you have to do in order to get secure copy working properly on Splat. And then we actually ran through a backup option where we copied an actual CP backup file from our checkpoint firewall B across our VPN tunnel back to our Nugget management server using SCP, which tunneled the traffic over port 22 and through our VPN. So basically, we set up all the concepts, we got it configured, we were able to successfully transfer a file, and this is definitely something we should be doing on a daily basis when working with our secure platform devices. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.